Okay, it's recording. Okay. Yep. So yeah, so I think before going into the uh, high availability aspects, so I want to. There are a lot of things that as a basics that we need to know before going to that space. I think I think it is similar to what we saw in AWS. Nothing different, but here the terminologies are different. So those things we need to first understand. Then and then we'll go to the actual concept. So for that, before that, I want to understand. I want to make it very clear about the global infrastructure, regions, and availability. So these are the basics for all the high availability that Azure offers. So these are the fundamentals that based on this is what Azure is offering us those high availability concepts. So these are the pillars. So in that case, if you go to this, I think first, what is global infrastructure? So so yeah, I think just to summarize, I think there Azure is having a lot of data centers across the world. So and all these things are connected because of a massive infrastructure that is over under the water sea cables and over the air and lot of networks and Wi-Fi based and internet based and lot of networking is behind the scenes for making this happen. So so Azure calls it as global infrastructure, which is primarily nothing but it involves primarily the physical infrastructure, which is primarily connecting the 160 plus data centers around the world, and also connective network components that primarily connects all this infrastructure across the world. So this all these data centers across the world, they are classified by regions. I mean, based on geography, and but all from sitting from one place, you can connect to any region or any data center from your place by button click. Right. So that but behind the scenes, these are the infrastructure setup is all maintained by Azure, and they're completely monitored day and night. And so any interruption will definitely cost not just Azure, Microsoft, even for the customers. So they ensure that it is all working as much as possible. Of course, no, we can't avoid downtimes. There could be downtimes, but they're just trying to minimize it as much as possible. And this is where and this is not an easy job. And connecting the regions across the world is all because of a lot of heavy infrastructure that was invested by Microsoft to get this happen. And the same thing applies for AWS as well. But why Azure or Microsoft is special in this area is that compared to AWS is uh, I mean just by numbers in terms of how fast they are growing. So Azure, if you look at there are already on 54 regions compared to AWS, which is 24 plus or 24 plus and counting, or basically 50% lesser. So if you look at then Azure is covered more regions across the world compared to uh, AWS in that way. Uh, and that is all possible because of the existing network that they already had, uh, uh, primarily because of the Office 365 and other networks that they already had, but they extended this further to cover more data centers across the world. So, we will cover the various locations and other aspects where Azure offers. But yeah, so what Azure calls is called global infrastructure. So it is nothing but a physical infrastructure and also the connectivity across those physical infrastructures. So that is what this global infrastructure is. I mean, this I'm looking at the terminology. So this terminology will be used in the documents everywhere. So it is important to understand these terminologies. And then data center, and this is a very common term that we already know, which is a unique physical building and that is located all over the globe from Azure perspective. And primarily this houses a group of network and computer servers. So that is what the definition of data center from Azure perspective. Uh, and yeah, geography. Again, this terminology is primarily is nothing but different geography by the general definition. What is geography? Defines the area of the world containing at least one or at least one Azure region. So basically, it is logically hierarchically it will be like geography. Under geography, there will be regions, and under regions there will be. I will come further. So under regions there will be availability zones. I think that we know from AWS concepts. Under availability zones, it will be availability sets. Yeah, so that will come further. But geography is the higher boundary where it is nothing but a geographical location which consists of at least one region. But at least one is like generally it will be two, minimum two, uh, um, and but rarely if it is a very new geography, it will be having one region. But otherwise, very common is minimum two. So that is what the trend from Azure so far. So that is the definition of geography. Then next is global network. Again, this terminology is primarily it is whenever they refer global network, they're referring primarily all the components in the networking. So that will primarily include the global wide area network, point of presence, fibers, etc. So that is what the Azure global network means. It is nothing but all these networking aspects which are covered and connected with each other. And one, uh, I mean, one bigger uh, uh, advantage with to connect all these different regions, I think a lot of fiber optical cables under the sea cable and all these things are required. So in fact, compared to AWS, Azure is covered more in terms of the miles, like 130, like 130,000 miles of fiber optic stuff, which is laid and especially most of them is under sea cable. So that is what the Azure Global Network means, right? I think it is similar to AWS. There's nothing different. Even they also call this as global infrastructure, but just that it is good to know the terminologies here, right? And just to give a graph, right? I think this is what their underlying cable system and global network connected across. If you look at the available, if you look at the blue ones are the available regions across various locations, and these dotted circles are announced regions. For example, here it is, like here and there are announced regions, which are like there are upcoming new regions that is coming in that location. And the small dot is the edge site. Edge site is closer to the region where yeah, you'll not be able to do all the operations from like how it is doing in a region, but it is more mimicking the data and caching the data. So kind of a stuff will happen in this edge site, so that your image or the content that you're downloading, if you're very far from region, but at least you can get that speed from by downloading caching the data from an edge site. Um, so that is what it is, and the of course the lines that are drawn here are the WAN links. So if you see the spread, um, the concentration, if you look at this is more on the Europe and of course US, North America, um, and of course they are now just started recently in South America as well, and of course on this on all on the Asia Pacific completely, Hong Kong, Singapore side, and India. There's three regions here. So yeah, but the rest of it is all C. So all these are all connected over C. So yeah, this is what I want to show that here. Just maybe we can also take you here.
If you are selling Azure, this is what padang kattuvanga illaya. This is what the gimmicks they show.
Yeah. Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
don't say gimmicks, man. My bread and butter is fully from Microsoft from day one for 22 years.
1,30,000 miles cable போட்டு data center connect பண்ணா gimmicks இன்ட்டியாப்பா.
it is
Correct.
it is not an easy job. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
so
Yeah.
Actually, Azure has more data centers than AWS.
No,
exactly.
Microsoft, I think because it has like since 70s or 80s, right? Like they had built so many data centers around the world just for their
Exactly.
other purposes, right? So
Yeah.
that's what they are leveraging actually.
Yeah, that is what
Amazon
is
is building.
also
365 is
explained here, right? For example, trust the same resilient network infrastructure that supports Skype, Bing, Microsoft Exchange. These are all the main
cache cost.
income for Microsoft, and for which or the across the world this network is all connected. So I think, yeah,
Plus
of course
Office
they
365.
have that experience, and so they relied on existing network, and of course they expanded for Azure again.
Just
But
imagine
on the
Microsoft
lighter note,
Exchange, Office 365 are cache cows for
Exactly.
Microsoft.
yeah. So don't get offensive, Microsoft loyalist. But one thing I want to make sure, there are VPCs, VNet, right? So from the connection perspective and so on, in VPC, if you have virtual machine, you cannot connect, you cannot talk to another VPC in another virtual machine AWS. Same thing is copied here. But what has been changed is in the Google side. Their backbone network is lot more even stronger. So basically, if you have a two virtual network, you don't have to do any peering and so on. It can talk by itself. So that is because of all the YouTube and by virtue of the video level of bandwidth level things across the globe, they have more prominence on this network. But these guys, from if you ask me, they really copied it very well. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Think the main staff in there in Microsoft, the demographics. That will tell you why.
Now imagine the amount of real estate they would have been maintaining for right from the 1980s. Probably they would have leveraged each and every inch of their real estate then. Whereas AWS, a relatively newer company in comparison to Microsoft in that area, they should have invested more. Whereas Microsoft would have been leveraging their erstwhile investments in real estate itself.
Yeah, that's true. And the left and right they're opening like in Azure. I mean, Microsoft, they're left and right they're opening data centers. I mean, they.
Right.
In fact, I was stunned to see that in Chennai there is a Microsoft. I was not aware. Chennai there is a Microsoft location is there. I mean,
Oh,
this one is
is
here.
it Chennai? Okay, I thought that is Bangalore. Okay.
Yeah, it is in Chennai.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And of
Bombay,
course in
there is no.
Pune is there. They're planning to open another facility in Pune now. So
Wow.
yeah, I think they're investing a lot in opening data centers across the world. So yeah, I think they want to target this. I mean, primarily the areas where AWS is not having a region, so they want to focus on those regions more. That is where, I mean, their focus is more less. I mean, less on US, but more on Europe. So that's why you see a lot of data centers almost in every, not I wouldn't say every country, but more or less all the big countries within Europe are having a region here, a data center here.
Actually, data being the new oil, no wonder that everybody is investing in data center. And on a different note, I just want to share that even Mukesh Ambani is trying to get into data center business. They are going to set up many data centers, and I heard Adani is also going to invest in data centers in India initially, and then they will spread over to the globe. Yeah. So it is definitely a known area, and it makes all the more sensible to invest our time in learning this technology. Whatever be either AWS or Azure or Google, we cannot be out of cloud anymore. So that's what it says.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's move on. So that covers the global infrastructure side of it. So once now, if you zoom in further from global infrastructure, so there comes the region. These are the regions that you saw here. So the region is nothing but a geographical location having set of data centers. So minimum, I mean, it is like definitely it will be minimum two, but generally there will be three is a very common number for a region to have it, like three data centers together form a region. And each of the data center is called as availability zone. So yeah, the idea is that at least this availability zones are separated by at least more than 100 miles, for example, so that yeah, any catastrophe happen in one region, one availability zone doesn't impact the other availability zone. So that is the concept. So yeah,
One thing I was thinking about it is like the zone, the map you showed, right, Shyam,
uh-huh.
for the Azure. So I was thinking that this one and then superimpose the Azure. How is that? Sorry, with the AWS, how is that so different? Because they must have chosen based upon the geographic location
Yeah, you can
where all
quickly
these
check.
earthquakes and other things, right?
Yeah, there a lot of
It's
analysis
nothing
would have
but
been done.
just a quick comparison, just like McDonald's and Burger King, right? It's the same concept. Wherever Amazon has, Microsoft would have put a shop there. That's
Yeah.
pretty.
Ganesh, what I am trying to understand is, these are all the prominent zones, right? Where less seismic stuff. This can give us the information that we are living in a safe place or not.
Yeah, you get a very good cloud burger, man.
Cloud.
Yeah, I can compare
Cloud,
this with this end here, right? So if you see,
more or less.
yeah, so this is the
Yeah,
AWS site. Still, the numbers are more here in US and more in Europe.
Europe. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, there are also
Same.
more in Asia Pacific as well. So
Burger.
and Australia
Ganesh
also
put it,
there are
Ganesh
more.
put it rightly, actually. Burger shop. Yeah.
Yeah. But at least the South America and I don't know what is this. So these two places are having almost the same numbers here, not much. But the concentration is more on the upper half.
Africa. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there is a saying actually, McDonald's is a multi-billion dynasty, right? Like, so they invest and they research everything. And then finally Burger King says, okay, he has put a shop on that corner. I'll put it on this corner. Okay. That's what I think. I think maybe there is another guy in this cloud business, which is Google, but I don't know how they are kind of coming up. But
I heard even
Compare.
Alibaba is coming out with a cloud offering, right? Alibaba.
Yes.
Google will come up with saying a multi-burger. What is that concept?
Yeah,
You can get
Kubernetes
customized
burger.
burger for. Yeah, correct. Exactly. You can get an Indianized version, Americanized version, any version. You can get it in Google.
Yeah. No, it is like
Shyam,
that.
I have a question, Shyam.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, when you open in Azure, say I'm trying to create a VM in Azure, and when I select the region for Canada, I only get Canada Central. Whereas when I create a Cosmos DB in Azure, I can select Canada East. Why
Yes.
is that? Any difference? Like,
Yeah.
can you
Yes.
put
I think
up
that is
some
covered in the
like
upcoming slides.
Okay.
The region. I mean, just to quickly answer that question. So not all regions have all the services available. Uh, so so
Okay.
so some of them. I mean, also the cost is also not the same. And some of the services are. I mean, I'll just quickly go to the slide. But so some of the services are there are something called foundation service, mainstream service, specialized service, regional service. So this category where if you're not seeing something in one region, that's because it's a regional service. So not all services are available in all regions. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you so much.
Same thing like Burger King also, right? Some restaurants has a special.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Similar concept. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to jump the gun because when you showed those data centers, like I was wondering why it was like that. Because Toronto has one data center from Microsoft and Montreal and we had 3 data centers in the east, actually, in Canada East. I mean, Toronto, Montreal, and one more place. So that's why I was wondering why there is not offering in one database. There's one offering, and VM there's another offering, Canada Central.
Yeah, that's true. So I think they are actually generally any product that is coming out, they will first publish it in their in their prominent locations first, where there are a lot of people who use it. So once the issues are all resolved there, then they will promote it to other regions. And
Okay.
I mean, you should be keeping a watch on their updates. Like Microsoft Azure publishes the updates every month. So there you can see what features are coming in any new location, and you can subscribe for any feature if it is missing in a particular region, so that you will be informed about when that service is available in that region, or at least you'll be notified when that service will be coming in that region. They have a plan. I mean, we were also having the same in one of our project requirements. So we had a similar requirement where we the customer is from Japan, and Azure is having a service. Primarily, we are looking for a service which is load balancer, and that load balancer feature is not available in Japan East. When I'm talking about a year back. But that feature that we asked for was when you put a note to Azure, then they replied that it will be available like 6 months down the line, not now. So yeah, at least you'll get the answer when that service will be available. That is not there. Okay, so let's move on with this. Yeah, so we are looking at this regions. So the regions is yeah, geographical locations. We're talking about 60 plus regions is what Azure offers. I mean, if you just compare the same with uh, AWS, it is 24 plus and maybe 3 regions, adding more, probably 26, 30 or 27. So, but here it's already 60 plus 64 to be very frank. I mean, the 4 upcoming regions are coming. So 64 regions are there. So which is like almost, yeah, at least more than double. So right, and then more regions. Yeah, this is what they officially put this in their website itself. The more regions compared to any other cloud provider. That is the yeah that is one of the advertising factor for Azure as well. So and also pricing and service availability. Of course, this is what it answers your question. The pricing and service availability can vary per region. So because the pricing for a particular service will depend on many things like the infrastructure cost and the and also the local cost. Yeah, so all these things they will consider, and based on that, they'll fix a price for a service in the particular region. So that's why it will not be same across regions. The price will vary. So if cost is the aspect for a decision making on a service, so we should look probably which location is having lesser price, and if you can change your region accordingly, so to get a better price advantage. But again, it's not just the price, but there are other aspects also we need to consider in terms of the where your users are, and the latency aspects all will come into picture if the service is in a different region where your end users are in different region. So it comes with other problems like latencies. So yeah, if it like it's a kind of a combined decision that we need to make, not just price. Yeah. Yeah. So that's about the region, and then availability zone. Availability zone is nothing but the it's a unique physical location within a region, and generally these availability zones are at least 100 miles apart. So that way, if there is one downtime in one region, it's not impacting the other place. And generally, this is what the high availability aspect that I was talking about. So generally, it is a good practice to deploy a service across availability zones. So that way, if one of your services is down in one region, your service is still available in at least another availability zone. but it doesn't help you with if the entire region is impacted, then your so that risk is there, so the service will be down. For that, you should look at cross region replicability. So yeah, that is also available. But primarily, this, I mean, that all comes with a cost also. So we should make a weighted decision how much risk you want to take, and cost, and based on that you have to make a decision whether is it whether you want to keep your service within a region but across availability zones, or you want a global downtime. You're not. I mean, don't want to take any risk. Then you can be the services can be across regions so that the risk is minimized.
Azure also has availability set, right? Not only zone.
Yeah, that is there. So that is coming in the next slide. So
Okay.
so further down there is availability set. So yeah, that is coming in the upcoming slides. Right. So
That is not in the AWS though. That is only unique on this, right?
yes, that is unique here. Yeah. So you have a choice to make where your VM that, for example, you're creating. So within availability zone, in which, for example, which availability set you can put. I mean, I will cover on the availability set in the upcoming slides, so we'll know more. Sorry, there is a question.
Yeah. So those three symbols that you see, right? The lightning, the what is that? Snowflake, and then
Yeah.
so each one represents what? Compute, storage, and other things.
No. These are all outages.
Outages. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, power failure. Yeah, this is primarily because of some very cold problems. So all those things. So generally,
No,
these are all.
Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, man.
No, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, it's preserver and other things. These are all destroyers.
Yeah, these are all destroyers. Yeah.
I have one question, Shyam.
Yeah.
Remember when I talked to you about that availability zone, right? Like suppose the VM is in one zone, the database is in another zone. That will be because I have the database on that VM, right? I mean, so how does it work? Like, can it be like that? Like, can database can be in another zone and VM can be in another zone? I think the Cosmos is a platform as a service, so it need not be inside the VM. So how does it?
Yeah, I mean, this primarily
yeah.
applies for infrastructure as service. I mean, yeah, managed services. It is something that Azure will take care of all this, taking care of. This will be automatically taken care by Azure. But I think your question is like one VM in one availability zone, and where maybe your web
Databases in
components
another
are
zone.
there. And your application server is running there, probably another VM in a different availability zone. A database is there. Was that a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is
because I understand that the database is a PaaS service, but that's in a different zone, right? Whereas VM is in one zone. So when it comes to data movement and stuff, like will it be a problem? Like I can't understand that part actually.
Oh yeah, I mean
but
within availability zone, it is. I mean across. I mean this is all within a region, and they're separated by a couple of miles. I mean 100 miles plus, right? So here the latency wouldn't be that big, even if they're in different locations. But you shouldn't design your application in such a way that I mean in your front end is in one and back end is in a different availability zone. So the design should be that your front end and back end should be here. Same replica should be even there here. So that way, and you can turn this off if you want to reduce the cost. Um, uh, but in the back end, your database alone may be replicated across, but the front end will be turned off. So that way,
Usually you will have a different VNet. So even though you might have a same availability zone, front and back end, just for the bifurcation, right? Because SQL don't want to be accessed by the public front, right? So it should be in a private kind of a subnet. So through subnet, they control it, but usually in the same availability zone, you get the proximity of the faster call.
Yeah, and generally the design should be that database. I mean, if you want to replicate or you want to get the high availability aspect, so the concept is that the database should be here and also here. Okay, and only then if this database is down for some reason, you can still have the database here. That can be made primary and can be utilized. So so it is not that it is not if it's just in one availability zone, then you are at bigger risk. I mean, not talking about managed services. I'm talking about the normal database where you install on a VM. Uh, Managed services is a different thing that Azure will take care of it. Don't even worry about. Behind the scenes, they are also doing the same thing, but that is Azure will take care of it. But if you are installing your own database on a VM, uh, so in that case, if you want to get high availability, then you should have the same in VM with database in availability zone 1, and you have to do the same thing in availability zone 2 also. And of course, but one of it will be primary. Probably this availability zone 1 is primary. Then probably you can make it's a design choice. Either you can make both of the databases to be live, so they can handle the load with the load balancer above. Or you can make only one as primary, and um, the secondary could be just read only, meaning you'll not be able to write anything. I mean, you'll do, but you will sync the data to the database behind the scenes, so that if the primary is down, suddenly you can make this secondary as primary. But the base concept is that both should be there. I mean, the database should be there in both availability zones.
Oh,
Sorry, did I answer your question?
yeah, to an extent.
Yeah. So the idea is the database. I mean, the high availability will come with minimum 2. Okay. So of course, more than 2 also you can go because, but generally you need to have 2. So that one is down, other is always there. So so, but yeah, I can go more than 2 also if you want to reduce the risk further. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. So yeah. So this is all the region from various locations within, I think, the same map that we saw before, just that with the names now here. So if you look at on the east west US, we have few and some government stuff. I mean, US Go is pure government organization data center. It's purely for government only data center, not for public. Um, so similarly, Go Texas, Go Arizona. But on the eastern side of eastern side, primarily East US, East US 2, and Virginia as a go here. DoD, which is the primary for security, they introduced this. And Central US there is one. Canada East, Canada Central. But if you see here, it's completely Europe is primarily in Germany. Focuses more on Germany, Switzerland, Italy. And here primarily there's no location but France, Europe, North Europe, West Europe, Spain. Similarly, in the India side, it is West India, Central India, South India, and Qatar, UAE, and UAE North on the UAE side. In Israel, it is coming, and here it is China, Korea, Japan, China, yeah, East Asia, and some in Australia. South Africa, okay, South Africa, Brazil. Yeah. So yeah, this is the availability as the regions across the location. And yeah, a few considerations for region. I mean, I think this is where I'm addressing the question that you asked. So yeah, so when you're deciding on a region for a particular service, so like for general use, primarily choose the region which is closest to you. So that way your latency is minimal. But yeah, I mean, of course, you need to look at cost also. But if cost is not a big factor, latency is more important for you, then yeah, probably always good to choose a region closest to you, so that way your latency is less. And again, not all regions have the Azure services. This is a link where you can see that, um, yeah, so not all services are available in a given region. So yeah, here, yeah, well, maybe let's take uh, maybe US first. Okay, so if I see here in US, uh, these are the various products that are available from Azure, and these are the various locations. So if you see some this Bing setup is not there in most of the places, and maybe it's a new service. So likewise, there are some if you see some of the tick marks are not there, so which means that service is not available in that region. Okay. So, but yeah, generally you see a lot of tick marks here, right? So which means yeah, in US most of the features are available. Um, so most of the products are available in most of the locations within US. But if you see, take some other location which is more less popular, maybe let's see how it is in India, for example. You see here, most of them are there's no tick marks, so which means most of the services are not available in India. Okay, maybe the central India is the most popular because it is having most of the services, but South India, West India is not having most of it. So yeah, so yeah, this shows that so basically before you decide a particular service, you have to do this assessment whether your service that you're looking for, when the product that you're looking for is available within the region or not. Most of it is available within US and Europe, but some of them may not be there. But yeah, you should make a check, and especially the new services, very new services, primarily on, for example, AI or machine learning or IoT. So those services may not be available in all the places. You have to make a judgment based on this and then take a call on selecting a region. And of course, this cost of services, they also can differ from region to region. And of course, the legal or compliance requirements also matter when you decide a region. So there will be some requirements where the data shouldn't cross across regions, like Europe, data shouldn't come out of Europe. So China data shouldn't come out of China. So there will be some legal compliance requirements. So based on that, also you should make a decision on the accordingly should take a select a region. So then, yeah, there are a few terminologies that apart from this, which are very specific to Azure, something called recommended region. So yeah, so this the recommended region is like in this is a region where most of the broadest range of services will be available and also they're designed to support like more availability zones also, either now or in future. So 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 generally Azure will give you a recommendation when you select a particular service. So in this basically in Azure portal, they're designed as recommended. So so it's always good to go for recommended region, which Azure also by default gives you when you select a particular service. Let's say creating a VM, by default US East will be recommended for you. That is because they have a lot of availability zones for US East, and also the broadest range of services are also available there. It's not just a VM, right? VM, when you create a VM comes with many other components together, right? So starting from storage, starting from backup, all those things. So based on that, Azure will do a recommendation to you. But of course, you can override that recommendation and go with your own region. And that so basically what that is called recommended region. So what Azure provides the broadest range of services in that region, and it recommends you in the Azure portal. And the other one is alternate region, which is like which is like extended footprint, where recommended region also exists. So it is so generally this it is external alternate region will be something like it they will be it will be in the same location where recommended region is also there, but they will not have all the features. For example, they don't support availability zones. So if such region, if you're selecting a region, alternate region, then you should be very careful, because you may not be available, you'll not be having all the features, and also you'll not have availability zones in that, doesn't support availability zones in that region. So yeah, so you have to make a choice based on yeah, how much you're going to spend, and what is your high availability requirement. Yeah, so in Azure portal they will be designated as other. So yeah, and a few more considerations here. Again, this is some terminologies that you need to know. Azure, I mean, all the services that are within available in Azure, they are categorized under this, for example, foundation service. What this means is, this is a core service that is available in all the regions, when a region is generally available. So it is like a core service, and you need to know those. I mean, you will get it in all the service in all the regions. For example, that service. For example, VM is a course creating a VM, right? So that's a VM is a Azure VM is a service from Azure, and that will be definitely a foundation service. So and that will be available in most of the regions. Maybe let's say I'm just taking an example randomly. So maybe the artificial intelligence, probably some service like so some artificial intelligence service which is very newly introduced. So that may not be a foundation service for sure. So that will be probably a specialized service or a regional service. So yeah, so just that yeah, they Azure classified most of the services based on these categories: foundation service, other one is mainstream service. This is available in all the recommended regions within 12 months of the service availability. So generally, all products that is coming from Azure, they will have they should be in service availability for 12 months, and then only they can be made to mainstream, like FSA release and GA release they call. So generally, everything will be in a FSA release for 12 months, and then they will go to GA. So GA is like general available. Like so FSA is like a alpha or beta kind of a release. So there could be bugs, but GA is like, yeah, there comes with service level agreement. So yeah, any downtime, yeah, you'll get money back. So all those, so one is so yeah, so generally this mainstream service is something which is available. All the GA services will which consuming this 12 months, and only those will be available under mainstream service. So which means the GA pass will be there, and yeah, that is called as a mainstream service from Azure perspective. And other is specialized service, which is like they will not be available in all the regions, but it is a demand driven availability across regions. So maybe you have to put a request. Like it's a specialized service. It is not. It will be available in mostly in the popular area, but popular region. But if it is not available in your region, then you need to. They will Microsoft will look how many people are how many companies are, let's say, demanding this service. Based on that, they will introduce that service in that location. So then that is called a specialized service. Uh, then regional service is primarily so a service that is deployed regionally, and it will help customers to specify the region into which the service will be deployed. So it's primarily based on the region the service will be available. And non-regional, there is, which means there is no dependency for on this on a specific Azure region for this service. But generally, these non-regional services are deployed in two or more regions, and if there is any probably regional failure, then the instance of the service is available in other regions. So that's why it's called non-regional. So if you look at this graph with this link, so it will have. there will be classification of all these services. Yeah. So if you look here, yeah, yeah. Okay. So if you look at here, you can see that these are all already Azure classified which of the services are foundational, which of them are mainstream, which of them are specialized. So for example, all the popular ones like storage, application gateway, backup, which comes with VM, right? So Cosmos DB, Data Lake, Express Route. So these are all foundational services. Mainstream is API management, all this stuff. So and specialized is also like very specialized services. For example, blockchain, for example, it may not be available in all the places. So like this blueprints. So it is like this. These are all probably a new service which Azure just launched. Um, but eventually they will come to all the other regions. But till the time it is specialized. So you're getting it right. It depends on how it's all how the popularity for a particular service for a given region. Based on it, Microsoft will decide whether the service should be available in the particular region or not. So yeah, so basically these are things we need to keep in mind also when selecting a region. So whether your service comes under which category that you're looking for. Right? Yeah. All right. Yeah. Any questions here before we move to the next slide? Sorry, I mean today is more of some basics and theory. So maybe from next session we'll go to the
Yeah.
practicals. But yeah, these are all some basics that we need to
Every
know.
service will have foundation thing, right? Every region will have the foundation service, correct?
Yeah, foundation will be there in all regions. It's there here, available in all regions. So, but only the criteria is that that service should be generally available. So a GA tag should be there. I mean, but generally foundation service will have GA tag, obviously. So yeah. So I mean, it's a general product life cycle, right? So I mean, initially any new product they're launching, right? So they will put in alpha release, beta release, and then they will go for FSI release, and then they will go for a GA release. So and once it is launched, the GA release may not be there in all the regions. So initially they will start with the most popular region, probably US East, and once they see a lot of traction on the product, then they will start expanding to other regions, right? So yeah, it's the same concept. So just that it is all clearly documented in Azure, like which service will be available and which service is foundation, which is mainstream, which is specialized, regional, non-regional. They clearly classified that. And yeah, so based on I mean same thing, like for example I was telling you about the use case for a customer in Japan. So the service is not available, so we had to wait for 6 months to get that service launched in that Japan location. So yeah, so those are the use cases, right? So um, it is like it is sometimes Azure will not know even the timeline when it is coming, because probably it is a very new service, and they have to look at the expertise or the resources availability also on that location. So also they have to train the people there in the particular service for any maintenance. So all those things they will also need to consider before they launch the service across region. So yeah, so all those things based on that they will come up with a price factor based on the overall cost, and then they launch a service in that region. So yeah.
Shyam, are these regions mutually exclusive? They are not, right? For example, regional and non-regional probably could be mutually exclusive, but between foundation service, mainstream service, specialized service, and regional service, they are not mutually exclusive, right? One could be also be having the feature of the other, or are they mutually exclusive?
They are exclusive. I mean, the service, if it is foundational, it is always foundational.
Okay.
So yeah, so it can't be in these categories. So
Oh.
generally the idea is very old services will be foundational. I mean, because they were proven for so long. right? The basic compute, networking, these are all basics, right? So those will be definitely compute, storage, networking will be foundation service.
Okay.
Just for example, Kubernetes services and all like mainstream service because they're more popular.
Right.
Blockchain, for example, will be specialized service. So
Okay.
yeah, they will not be mutually exclusive. Either if it's there here, it will not be there here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
They will be promoted from
Yeah,
specialized to the
exactly.
mainstream.
At some point, if a blockchain is after maybe 2 years down the line, they could be foundational at some point.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. That is
Just
demand
yeah,
driven.
try to buy everything, man. You can make everything as a foundation.
We will wait for Azure to develop to that level. Till that, we will wait.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And another important thing under regions is paired regions. So this is also which is very unique to Azure actually. The paired region concept is um, primarily there'll be, for example, US East and US West. They are paired regions, for example. So the concept is that Azure generally, if there is any outage on a one region, let's say US East, there is outage. Uh, so obviously US West will be a pair. So they will automatically redirect to the paired location and ensure that your outage is minimized. Um, and also if there is any planned maintenance coming for a particular region, so they ensure that, for example, Azure serializes platform updates across regional pairs, ensuring that only one region in each pair updates at any given time. So, for example, if the planned maintenance is one case where there will be a downtime expected because of the maintenance, right? So they will ensure if there is any service, let's say Azure VM service, if you take, and VMs need a planned maintenance, and that VM is in US East. And see if there is a paired location available associated for that region. Not all regions will have paired locations. So that's why it's important to select a region with having a pair. So the advantage that we get with a paired region concept is that if in one out of the pair, if in USCs, for example, if there's a planned maintenance because of which there will be downtime, they will ensure that the other region is planned maintenance is not happening at the same time. So that way, if anything happens here because of the planned maintenance, still on other side, the paired region on the other side will still be available. So that is the advantage of paired regions. Again, not all regions are paired. There are very few locations which are paired. So the advantage is what I said. So and also if yeah because of the outage, if any of that affects multiple regions, it could very happen because of an outage that can affect multiple regions for some reason. If it affects multiple regions outage, then at least one region in the each pair will be prioritized for recovery. So that is also Azure when they're uh, bringing up from their outage, they focus more. They give first priority to the paired regions. So that way, if one pair is up, at least you'll get the advantage of using that pair. Uh, so yeah, so that's called paired regions. For
So
example,
one trivia question. Which cloud provider is more couple friendly?
I mean, so I don't have Google experience, but with these two, I think I see Azure is better.
Yeah.
This
See,
pad concept I don't see here
yeah, nowhere
in
else,
AWS.
man. Yeah, these guys are pairing things. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So Jnanesh, you got the point.
Yeah. Yeah, for example, yeah, US East and US West are a pair, and Central India and South India are a pair. So you can see more pairs here in this. I mean, today I was going through all these concepts and I was realizing, oh, these concepts are not there in AWS. I think they're of course they have a concept similar to AWS, but I think they introduce new concepts also. So yeah, if you just come down here, this pairing, this is the pairing Azure pair regions. Right? So Asia Pacific, East Asia and Southeast Asia are a pair. So yeah, China, North and East. So India, Central and South. North America, US and West, US East and West. So and US East 2 and Central US are also pairs. So US East and US East 2 are two different regions. Uh, so yeah, so North Central US and South Central US are pair. So likewise, yeah. So they've made pairs at least to ensure that every continent or country have a pair. Uh, so right. So yeah. So that is the concept of this paired regional pair. So within a geography, there will be a regional pair, and within that regional pair, there is a region, and within that region, we have data centers. Okay. So next is the availability set. I think we saw availability zones. The hierarchy that we saw here so far is the region. Under region, there is a availability zone. But inside availability zone, you can even zoom in further and you can decide availability set. Means where it will tell you where you can put your VM within a data center. Okay. You can. So that is the advantage that again Azure is giving compared to AWS. So you can select which rack in a data center your VM should be, for example. So to that level, that you can decide. Um, so yeah, this called within availability set is primarily within a data center. Within availability zone. Inside an availability zone is nothing but a data center location, right? So inside data center, there could be, you can imagine there is a big data warehouse, right? The very big area, and they will have a lot of racks put in the data center, and let's say, and just give an example. So let's say 100 VMs can be in one rack, and another 100 VMs can be in another rack, and each rack will have a network, a cooling system, and power. So so generally they all associated to a rack. Similarly, rack 2, for example, will have its own networking, cooling, and power, right? So likewise, there will be multiple racks in one data center. So basically, when you select a VM, you can decide in which almost a rack you want to deploy your VM. And again, in that you can also they're helping us to decide on the high availability in such a way that especially when you're creating, let's say, two VMs or more, all this availability set will come into picture when you're creating two VMs or more, not just for one VM. So when you're selecting two VMs or more, so your VM1 can be in one rack and VM2 can be in a different rack altogether. So that way, if one rack cooling system or power or anything is down, at least the other VM in a different rack is not impacted. So that is what is availability set, and that availability set concept is achieved through concept called fault domain and update domain. So let's see that. So generally this the VMs, especially this is applicable to VMs. Especially this, before going to the concept of availability set, I thought I will sort of explaining what are the various factors that could impact a VM. So generally in wherever data center you take, even in or on-premise also we know this. Generally there will be unplanned hardware maintenance events that can happen. Like Azure primarily unplanned hardware maintenance event is nothing but Azure generally evaluates the hardware failures and they try to reduce the impact with a live migration. So live migration is a very new concept at a data center level introduced recently, where the intelligence is primarily it will identify what is a pause when a particular hardware can fail, like a predictive maintenance, right? So when a particular hardware can fail, It can predict, and if there is any downtime, it can do a live migration to another VM. Live migration is like migrating the data from one VM to other live without bringing down the impacted VM. So that is what is unplanned hardware maintenance event. So, but this live migration, during this live migration, there is a possibility that a VM, the old VM, can pause for a short time, or a performance might be impacted. So even though there is a live migration, but still there is impact on the resources on a VM when doing this activity. So that can stall the system, and it can impact the system. So I'm just talking about what are the possible downtimes that can happen in a VM. So and now the next slide I will tell you how we can address these downtimes with the help of fault and update domains. So yeah, first let's look at what are the possible faults that can happen. So that is what is called hardware maintenance event. So hardware can go down at any given time. Even though the live migration facility is available, still old VM can stall a bit, or performance is impacted, or it can even, in the worst case, it could even come down. I mean, it requires a reboot. It can happen. So yeah, that's again a downtime. If the VM is shut down, then it's a bigger impact, right? The SLAs are impacted. Azure SLAs are impacted. So they have to take care of this. So and similarly, unexpected downtime. So this is when especially a particular hardware or physical infrastructure suddenly fails unexpectedly. So yeah, it can happen. Right? Hardware, anything can fail at any given time. So earlier one is a predictive to some extent, but this is completely unpredictable. So these are the possible downtimes. But on the other side, there are also maintenance events that can happen. Like the planned maintenance events will be there. So which means periodic updates from Microsoft has to go for a particular VM, because every time a new operating system has to be, new patches are coming, and they need to update the patch, right? So that's also a downtime. So periodic updates can happen, and that could rarely require reboot of a VM. So this is also downtime, right? So these are the possible downtimes that are common in any data center. Unplanned hardware maintenance, unexpected downtimes, and planned maintenance events. So, and for this, how Azure addresses the above downtime or impacts is primarily the answer is availability set. So the availability set is primarily it ensures that the Azure VMs are deployed across multiple isolated hardware nodes in a cluster, so that if one node fails, only the subset is impacted, and your overall solution is safe. I mean, this is similar the rack concept that I showed that I was explaining. So your VM will be in multiple racks, so that if one rack is at least down, at least the other rack is still safe. So that's the concept. So and Azure primarily achieves this using the concept of fault domain and update domain. So then now let's understand what is fault domain and update domain. So this fault domain is primarily, you can imagine these are the various racks. FT0, fault domain 0 is the rack 1, FT2 1 is another rack, and this is another rack. And these are the various VMs associated in each rack. So if you imagine this way, so this fault domain is primarily addressing the first two problems, which is unplanned hardware maintenance event and the unexpected downtime, which you saw in the previous slide. These two issues are addressed with this fault domain. Again, as I already mentioned, it is primarily the fault domain is nothing but a rack of servers, which consumes mostly the subsystems like network, powering, and cooling. So each rack will have a dedicated network, power, and cooling. Same thing here. So when you put the VMs on availability set, then to protect the VMs on failure, primarily Azure will spread your VM across racks. Right? For example, VM1 will be in FD0, but VM2 will not be definitely in FD0. It will be in different FD. Okay, and that you can't select which rack, but you can say that I need a availability set. So then Azure will decide on which rack the other VM should be placed. So you're getting my concept, right? So you can't decide on which rack. Azure will not decide, will not give that option to the user. But as a user, you can tell that I need availability set. So then Azure will intelligently make the decision of which rack the other VM should go. That is, it has many. The decision making is with Azure, not we can't select that. So, but at least that is guaranteed that your VM, if let's say if there are two VMs, both will not be the same rack, for example. So that is what is fault domain is. So with that, your unplanned maintenance event or hardware event, um, uh, which is primarily something the live migration is happening on this VM, uh, but still you have other VM up and running, right? So this only this VM is impacted, not this VM, and they ensure that maintenance event happens uh, not to all racks at the same time. So they will phase in such a way that today rack one, maybe tomorrow rack two. That way, all are not impacted at the same time. So they plan in such a way that downtime is minimized. And update domain. This is primarily addressing the third problem, which is the planned maintenance events. So this update, I mean, from the name itself, you can see it's update, right? So it is planned maintenance updates. So you'll take care of that. So so at any given time, if there is any patch update that need to happen, uh, only one update domain will be updated at any given time. So for example, again, the same thing, if you take two VMs, so the update domain in and there, let's say first VM is in UD0 and second VM is in UD1. So UD0 will be updated with a patch on a given day. It will not on the same day UD1 will not be patched. So that way, for example, if UD0 patch update is failed, you still have UD1 virtual machine available. So yeah, so it is just a strategy to minimize the downtime. Nothing else. I mean, it is putting in a it's called placement strategy. So where your VM should be placed, uh, so that your impact is minimized. Uh, Sorry, sort of theory. So you can, but this is important to know. I mean, this is common for any even Azure extended to level where how they are doing this internally. But I think AWS says, I think maybe they are doing it internally, but this is not exposed out. But at least this is more clearer here how this internally happens in data center. Sorry, any questions here? Sorry, a lot of theory, I think.
Yeah, so one of the things is you can choose either availability zone or availability set. It's kind of mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And nowadays they promote more on the zone. If the zone is available, you choose the zone, but not all the places they have the zone available. So it's kind of little legacy. See, one of the things between AWS and this is AWS is standardized on these things, but these guys has variants. They said pad region, they have the availability set, fault domain, update domain. Then they have a great thing called availability zone. Um, yeah, so they gave so variations here. What that is one of the reason for the more of the regions also, because they need to have that pad region concept. Also one of the thing depends which gang you are talking.
Yeah. So what's the main difference between availability set and availability zone actually?
Availability zone is like you get 99.99% of your SLA guaranteed, and it is a different data center. If one you lose, the other will take care. But
I mean,
here they say I'm in the same data center, but I put these machines in this building within the same data center, and I'll put these machines in another machine, so that even if my data center goes, if this building goes, the other building will survive. So they're going a little bit more granular level within the data center here.
yeah, it is trying to. I mean, just going back here, right? So here, this is availability zone, right? So the VM, if you when you select creating a VM, you have option to either select availability zone or availability set. Um, What decides that is primarily the risk factor, how much risk that you want to take. Um, so availability zone, if you're selecting, the VM1 will be in one data center, and VM2 will be completely in different data center. So yeah, I mean the risk is more lesser if you're selecting availability zone. But if you're selecting availability set, then we are restricting the two VMs to one data center only, right? But within that, that advantage of having that in a different track, so those the fault domain and update domain within a data center, uh, they will come into play. So again, that will help you to minimize your downtime further. Uh, yeah, so it is
Yeah,
the risk factor that you want to take, that is a deciding factor.
yeah, it looks like they're trying to extend. Means I think maybe they just had availability set, but just
That's
because
correct. Yeah.
AWS provides a zone, they had to do this. And to me, right, like as a IT manager or means whatever, right, like I don't have to know that level of detail actually. Can you assure me 99.9%? I should be that should be enough. That will simplify, but this seems over engineering a little bit. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. These are all different selections, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
As like you know how to, if you want, you can trash it or you can sell it. So it depends on how which gang you will be. As a seller, I can sell both ways. Okay.
Yeah, it's like selling. Oh, if you take availability set, I'll say give you a little cheaper. That's what it is, right?
But
Like, but actually,
yeah,
no,
that is important factor, right? I mean, the
yeah,
cost is plays a major role there, right? I mean, if you're selecting a
yeah,
VM across availability zone, the cost of the VM is higher. Uh, but if you're selecting availability zone, then you definitely they'll give a lesser cost. Uh, but how much risk that you want to take? So that is your
Yeah.
call.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So this availability set, I mean, under availability set, you have the fault FDs, right? Fault domains.
Yeah.
How about that paired region you said? Because when there is a planned downtime, we have the paired region in another region, right?
Yeah.
So how does these both
Oh,
work? I'm not understanding that part.
oh, yeah. I mean,
Because under availability set, you have fault domains, but then the regional pair is like the same thing will be applied to the other region too, right?
okay. See this. Uh, if you just open it in Notepad. So the concept.
Or is there any hierarchy or
The
something
hierarchy.
like?
This hierarchy. This comes with the hierarchy. So this is geography. Once
Yeah,
you selected geography, there will be regions. Okay.
yeah,
And under regions, there will be availability zones. Okay. Uh, and under availability zone, it is availability set. Okay. So
okay,
so within availability set will be restricted to one availability zone only. Okay. So now let's say you have two VMs, VM1 and VM2. We want to create two VMs. Okay.
yeah,
So um, again, the risk factor comes into picture. Okay. How much risk factor you want to take? Okay. Your application is a very like most used, and it should not never go. It should not be down at all. So
uh-huh.
then you should select in such a way that the VM1 should be at a regional level, right? So of course geography will select. Your VM1 will be in region one.
Yeah,
Region 1 could be US East, for example, and VM2 will be in a completely different region, okay, and will be in US West, it will be either US West for pair advantage, or you can even completely go to Europe, okay, or China, for example, just give an example, or Asia Pacific. So you can select somewhere, okay. So that way, if something happens in US East, your US West or Europe is still safe. Um,
okay,
so that is one, but it comes with a cost, right? So, but they have to maintain this connectivity between these two regions, right? So that is where the risk is less. Uh, uh, but when you go to let's say your cost is an important factor, you're okay to, even if that is down, it's not a big deal, but I want a better cost, then you go for availability set. So where you are restricting yourself to a particular own VM1, VM2, both will be in same data center in US East, US East
Oh,
data center only. So, but but you have in B, since you selected availability set, this fault domain will take kick in, so that VM1 will be in rack 1 and rack 2. So that way your
okay.
impact is less. I mean, within that, your impact is less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, I think it is just um, cost and risk. These are two things which decides where this VM should be placed. So it's called just a placement
Okay.
strategy. How much risk you are ready to take.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
We're done for the day, Sham.
Yeah. I have one more slide. Yeah. Right, and then yeah, let's say once you select all these things, of course, this will all help you to decide the high availability aspect. But there are some good practices or best practices that Azure recommends for high availability. Um, these are, for example, generally when you have more than one virtual machine, so ensure that configure the virtual machines in an availability set for redundancy. So this is the example that we spoke now. So rack 1 and rack 2 different racks. Ensure that when you have two VMs, ensure that you select at least an availability set, so that they are in different racks. Okay. You can also opt no, no for anything. For example, not even no for even availability set. So then in that case, they will not even apply this fault domain or dead domain concept. Meaning VM1, VM2 will be placed in same rack also. So you have an option to select no also. So that's why um, minimum availability set is good to have. That is what the best practice. Again, this will ensure that redundancy is taken care, right? And then and also especially when you come to the disks, right? I mean, the last sessions, if you remember, when you create a VM, you can a hard disk for a VM, right? So the hard disk for a VM, you can there are option to either select a managed disk or unmanaged disk. Managed disk is primarily maintained or managed by Azure. Unmanaged disk is on your own, so you have to take care, especially the patches and other things on the hard disk or any failures. So you have to take take care. So, but what Azure recommends is to use managed disk more for VMs, especially in an availability set. So that way, availability set advantage is also there. Along with that, your all the data is there in the disk, right? So the by selecting the managed disk, so your the losing data is lesser or minimized. Yeah, Azure recommends to use managed disk and availability set combination. Then also, especially when you use scheduled events to proactively respond to VM impacting events. So yeah, this scheduling events is I mean when you have VM, definitely you need to patch the VMs because Microsoft always sends a patch updates to VMs. But you don't need to do it immediately. You can schedule it, schedule those patches. So use the schedule events where the, let's say maybe on a weekend or sometime, so that the impact is lesser. You can schedule it that way in such a way that let's say you are expecting some production go live and other things, so you have a release. So maybe you can do it after the release or before or well before the release. You can schedule it such a way that your impact is minimized. So use the feature of the schedule events primarily to proactively respond to the VM impacting events. So, and other recommendation is that configure each application tier in a separate availability set. I mean, there'll be multiple application tiers, right? I mean, the web tier, the middle tier, and the database tier. So ensure that these tires are in separate availability sets. Availability sets I'm talking about here. So that way again same you will get that rack downtime advantage, right? So at least your database, maybe your front end is in one rack. For the front end VM I'm talking about, the front end VM will be in one rack. The database VM will be in another rack. So that way, if front end VM goes down, in the worst case, database VM is still up. You can do some troubleshooting and do some activity with that. But if you're putting everything in one basket, then you're completely gone. Right? So yeah, that is again recommendation. Then of course, load balancer is very important. On top of this availability zones, you should also have a load balancer. Combine a load balancer above with availability zones or sets. So that way, you will always hit the load balancer, and load balancer will decide where to route the traffic to PM in availability zone or in availability set. Load balancer will know that information. So it's always good to use a load balancer in the front. So that will decide and route the traffic accordingly. And other recommendation is use availability zones to protect from data center failures. Always use availability zones because availability set, okay, yeah, you get everything in one data center but in a different rack. But yeah, again the risk is more there because if data center is gone, the entire data is gone. So better advantage than that is going in across availability zones, so that VM1 will be in one data center, VM2 is completely different data center. So that way your data center failures are addressed there. So, yeah, so these are the best practices that Azure recommends for high availability. So yeah, I think maybe following session, maybe I will go. Maybe I quickly show you this piece where you will have that option of selecting.
So, Shyam, was there a high availability best practice in AWS? Like, did they give any such guidelines?
Yeah, they have. They will be.
Okay.
But we don't have too many choices, right? That is good thing, right? Yeah, availability zone, and then they don't have pad region also. They have different layers of tools to do the same thing, but here they give more variation.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that here. It's a white paper for architecting for high availability best practices.
Yeah, there is one. Okay.
Yeah.
EC2. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I was just telling about this availability zone and availability set, right? So, well, especially when you create a VM, right? Let me come first. Well, especially when you create a VM, here when I think maybe it will come in the next, yeah, it will come in the next. Here, this is what I was talking about the region here. So you can, when you create a VM, you can select a region, and it is something called recommended, right? So this recommended is what this offers. Choose a location. Choose a location which has a broadest set of Azure products and for long-term capacity growth. This recommended region is what the recommended option that I was telling here, right? So the recommended region. So this is what the recommended region that you get. Okay, but of course this will have the broadest range of service capabilities and also designed to support the availability zones. You'll have more availability zones here in this region. So yeah, so that's recommended option here, and also availability options. This is what I was telling you about. You can select no, or you can select availability zone, or you can select availability set. So yeah, the availability zone is like VM1 will be in one availability zone, VM2 will be in a different availability zone. So that is what this availability zone is, like different data center. But you select an availability set, then you have this option of when you have to create a new availability set. So here I'm selecting availability set here. Basically, what I'm telling is I'm telling this VM to be created in one data center only, because I selected availability set. So here I can give some test availability set. Yeah, here is where you have the options of fault domain and update domain. Okay, so this fault domain, by default you have generally you have max is 3. That's what you saw in this diagram as well. Like 3 fault domains you have FT0, 1 and 2. Within that you also have update domains. So this update domains is max that you can go is till 20. Okay. So
and this is within the same zone, right? That's what it says, right? Because
exactly.
when you select in only one zone.
Correct.
Oh, so we have to create the availability set, is it? Like
yeah, it is just a naming. I mean, what is the configuration that you want to go with? Like you can select, but generally it is good practice to select max, so that way your VMs will be faced across. So how many? I mean, the idea is like every time you get an update domain, when you select 20, right? So the VM1 will be in you'll have more options. Like the spread will be more. Okay. So that way your risk is also less within a data center. Okay. So
but we cannot define domains. So domains are defined by them. You only create a availability set,
we just
right?
give the number. That's all. So
number.
Yeah, just a number. So you will not be able to select a rack. That's what I told. So it is up to the that option is not given to us. That Azure will take. You can just tell the numbers, like how much numbers you want to give for fault domains and update domains. So that way, when you create a second VM, you have to use the same availability set. Okay. So that way this configuration is used. That's why it's asking to create a new. Okay. So that next time when you'll see that in the drop down. When you create a next VM, for example.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is a bit lot of theory to know, but it is.
No, it's good, because when I was creating, I never knew most of the stuff except I select the region and then I just go on, leave the others to default, and then move on.
Yeah. I mean, this is very unique. That's why I mean the others are all pretty straightforward. I mean, this recommended, even I was not known why it is recommended, but yeah, after reading that documentation, I realized that recommended is like it. These are the regions where you have broadest set of features. That's why it is recommending you. So of course, if it is not there in your your expectation is not within this recommended region, then obviously you have to go for a different location altogether. But at least it is good to know that these are the recommendations from Azure, right? And similarly, availability set. This also is like fault domain, update domain. Now we can cautiously select where how much risk you want to take for a POC kind of a project. You can even select no, right? I mean, in the worst case, everything crashes, no impact for you, then for POC kind of work, that is fine. You don't have to pay much. But similarly, a next level of POC, then you can select availability set. But for production, definitely where you want to take or don't want to take any chances, then obviously you'll go for availability zone. Beyond that, it is a region, right? Availability, regional pair also advantage that you have.
Okay.
Sam, a question. So, see, now Murali is already created without availability set, for example, right? If I want to do it later, would they allow?
Yeah, I mean, you can create how many availability sets you want. But
no, I created already without availability
you can see that value here. For example, I mean, the base thing is that they all should be within. I mean, Murali and me, for example, I am tomorrow coming. Murali created today an availability set. I can see that availability set if I and Murali are in the same subscription. I mean, Azure subscription.
What I'm asking is, I did not create a availability set. I created a VM without availability set. But I want to change it later to include in the availability set.
As far as I know, that is not possible to do that. You have to copy it and create a new VM.
Once you construct a building, man, you have to remove it and plug it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but I remember Sham, you were saying once you create the availability set, when you can transfer to the same, it will be available if you want to create another VM.
Yeah, you can keep on creating more and more VM on the availability set, what has been created. But his question is, he hasn't even have any availability set. He just went with none, and he wants to move it to something later automatically. No, you cannot. You have to recreate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Sham, where do you choose the regional pair here?
Regional pair is by default. I mean, you don't need to select anything here. Regional pairs, basically, if you, I mean, these are the regional pairs where uh, if you select these regions, you automatically get this regional pair advantage.
Oh,
Okay. That is, you don't need to pay anything or select anything for this. So these are the regional pairs that are already defined by Microsoft.
Hey, Sham, just a second, pause there. See, if you look at that's Canada, right? You have Canada Central.
Oh, here?
No, that sheet, on that sheet. You see that Canada Central, and then your regional, your region pair is Canada East, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But when you create the virtual machine, I can only see Canada Central. I can't see Canada East, but it's hidden, I think. Whereas when I create a database, it says I can choose the Canada East. So that was when I was confused, like VM.
Yeah, I mean, here you couldn't select Canada East, is it?
Yeah, you see, go down, you can't see.
Because it's pair, man. That's it. They can have only one person on the family. That's it.
No.
I'm just
no,
kidding.
the prime location.
I know.
Yeah, I think I understood. So maybe there is some setting behind the scenes. Maybe I'll try to find out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, here again, as you said, like I'm also not getting all the options here. For example, it is restricted. We see a lot of regions, but I see only very few regions here. I mean, couple in each location, for example. Asia Pacific, we saw many places, right? China and all, for example, is not coming to me here. So Europe, Germany locations are there. They're all not coming here. So yeah, looks like it is.
Oh, Canada East is there. Canada East is there now. When I was trying, like initially, I couldn't find it.
Okay.
Or maybe
But
for some other service.
Yeah, I think it is there in other.
Yeah.
So then other is like, then if you go back to our theory, right? Other is like you will. It is an extended Azure footprint. So which means if it is another category, then what it means is that they don't support availability zones. Meaning, for example, Canada East is in other, so which means Canada East doesn't have availability zones supported yet. So that's why it's always good to go with the recommended region, because you get that availability zone advantage.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So it is available in other. Okay.
Yeah. So recommended and other. So that's why you see here. I mean, I also didn't observe this. I mean, after just now I realized it. It is other is here. So yeah. Okay. I mean, this is a concept. I mean, I think that VM creation and all is all same. But these are some features that you need to know, which has a lot of theory involved. So I thought of covering that. So
yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I know this was sometimes I never understood this. I just went the only first region and then moved on. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is really useful. Maybe for certification they ask these questions, right?
Yeah, definitely they ask these questions. I mean, this
for
is
AZ 900 too.
Yeah, they do that. Yeah, most of the questions is on the how many update domain and how many fault domain. They try to ask you the questions around some numbers around.
Okay. Wow, this is great. Today's.
I think that's all I have for today. I mean, VM creation is all you know. I don't want to explain this, but yeah, these are the options that you know now better.
Yeah. So
Oh,
thanks, Shah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we'll continue next week.
Yep.
And have fun.
So you recorded this, right? We'll have this
I have
presentation.
recorded.
Okay. Yeah, I
it.
think this is much easier to absorb than reading whole set of documentation.
Yeah, I think
So,
it took
like
time for me to understand this concepts. I mean, for me also it's new, but I'm learning from this documentation. But a lot of reading I've done to understand this. So, thought I will
yeah,
share that.
great. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sounds good, man.
bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.